Redfall is in a sad state. I didn't think I'd be reviving this video series, but here we are. I've played a game to revive it. It's in a sad state. We're going to take a little deep dive into it, see what makes it be in such a sad state. Is there any positives? Because a lot of people just seem to be ragtagging it, and that's fair dues. It deserves to be ragtagged. But is there any positives? Let's dive in and find out. Also, I just want to make a quick side note. This might be the worst of the three. Like, Volta had no content, but it was still fun to play. Torchlight 3 had content, it just didn't get any new content and had no developer. This one has a developer, has content, it just doesn't fucking function at all. So, this is probably the worst of the three, I would say. So after beating the main campaign and some of the side stuff, I think I have a good grasp of what the game was trying to go for and trying to do. It felt like it was trying to be an open world co-op looter shooter exploration RPG. Does it do any of them well or correctly? Let's find out. Little information why crashes is on the top left hand of the screen. The game crashed in the tutorial, like straight away, and then like just as I killed the vampire, as soon as I got the achievement, it crashed. And I was wondering if the game was going to crash a lot, so I kept the tally up there for a bit just to make sure that I had some way of showing how many crashes there were. It never crashed again, so eventually the counter does go away. So some clips will have the crash counter, some clips will not. I just had it on the crash counter on OBS just so it was easy to update for me. So that's why there's a crash counter in some clips and not in others. The tutorial will bear all. I think the tutorial is the best place to start, seeming it shows off all aspects of the game that will slowly and steadily go wrong as the game progresses. The start shows you the beginning cutscene of two vampires very badly eating a corpse, and then the big honcho woman coming in to tell you, you will do her bidding, if you like it or lump it, you're going to be alive for this. And then she fucks off and the tutorial begins. Movement is fine. The only problem I had was with my mouse, but I don't see anyone else complaining about this, so I think it might just be a me thing, where I probably just didn't turn off a setting or didn't adjust my mouse sensitivity properly, but it never felt smooth while I was aiming or moving. But again, I didn't see many people complain about this, so I'm not going to sit here and say this is the game's fault until I have further proof it's the game's fault. So I'll keep that one as maybe a me issue as we progress. The boat is a really good way to get people to learn the game, get your heal kits, get your gun, and then teach you something that pisses me off royally. It teaches you to smash the glass to break the glass, press a button, open door. Cool. Can't wait to use this in the game. You never use it in the game. It never comes up again, not once. Unless it comes up in a side story in Bufu fucking Egypt, they never use this again. Why did you teach it me? What was the point? The only time I ever used the smashing glass feature is Dead Island 2 style and just smash the glass to avoid going through the door, which happens once in a blue moon, or later on in the game, to loot stuff from fucking cabinets, you just smash the glass and loot the stuff. Not once do you ever smash the glass to press a button, like, ever again. What was the point? This boggles my mind. Why teach me something in the tutorial that you're never going to use again? The tutorial is there to teach you stuff that you're going to use throughout the game. That's the point in the tutorial. That's what they're there to do, man. So, I was hearing that the AI was really bad, you didn't have to try. So I wanted to put that to the test. I just ran straight at them in the open and started shooting at them to see if I didn't have to try to take cover and stuff. This was on the hardest difficulty, so maybe most people playing on the normal difficulty were saying this or not. But I wanted to test this for myself, so I just went out in the open and took my shots. And I did die, they did kill me, so you can't just fucking stand there like everyone seems to think and just take your shots. You've still got to go into cover every now and again. They're accurate to a degree. Most of the cultists aren't. The army is very accurate, and you do have to be wary around them. Like the Blackwood operators, I think they're called. You gotta be worried around them. They're a bit of a beamer. But the normal cultists and stuff will miss 90% of their bullets. It's the snipers you have to worry about. The AI is dumb, though. I don't want to discredit people that are saying the AI doesn't function. The AI does not function. Like, look at this clip. They literally just keep funneling up the stairs, not knowing that I'm literally killing. They're watching their teammate die as they come up the stairs. They can see where the bullet is coming from, yet they don't turn around to look behind them and just go, whoa, why are my teammates dead? Like, they're the stupidest shit I've ever witnessed in a video game. I don't understand how AI is this broken. It's mind-boggling that I can run up to them sometimes, and they just don't react in the slightest. Just dog shit AI, and The tutorial also shows that if you just take a bit of cover, the AI just kind of panics and doesn't know what to do. The AI definitely does not work. No one's lying about that. I don't think it's as bad as people make it out. People are saying you can just stand there and they just won't shoot. They will shoot. They definitely will. They definitely will kill you every now and again. They will down you. The AI is definitely capable of killing you. It's just not functional in the slightest. Once you follow that tutorial all the way through, you will get to the fire station, which houses the first vampire we will witness in this game. And it fucking stinks. Fighting vampires in this game is not fun in the slightest. This was the selling point of the game. Fighting the vampires. In my vampire game, I want to fight the vampires. And by, the second island, I'm sat here going, I prefer fighting the humans over the vampires. Because the humans' gunfights are more engaging and more fun and more action-packed than watching a vampire charge straight at me, gun him down a little, oh, he's about to jump attack, strafe to the left or right, and then wait, then get back onto locking onto him so we can shoot at him some more. It is the most boring shit I've ever played in my life. A simple dodge would fix all the problems with vampire combat, but no, make me fucking strafe walk. Whoa, my god, dude, vampire combat stinks in my vampire game, and I shouldn't be saying that. Once you've killed the vampire with your terrible shotgun, you get a next dosage of what doesn't work in this game, the main quests and its system to, giving it to you. There is a mission table. This mission table will have all the quests laid out in a way that is, for once, decently and very understandable, showing you what quests connect to which area and how it works. So, for example, at the very beginning, I think there's one quest that splits off into 3, and those 3 can then be taken separately, which also split off into their own quests, so on and so forth. Makes sense, you know which story is connected to which, so if you want to progress a certain storyline before doing the others, you know which one to click. I like that. It's nice, it's simple, it's to the point, and you instantly can just get going with the main quest if you want. The negative, there's no point in this game being open world in the slightest. The open world doesn't work with the resource management, and let me explain what I mean by that. I feel like a good open world game will let me go from the start of a main mission to the end of the main mission while clearing up all the side quests as I go through the area, where RedFall never feels like that. It feels like I go from the safe house to the main quest and teleport back to the safe house to restock on ammo, health kits, lockpicks, and hacker tools, to then go back out to do the main quest again, never really running into a side quest on my way through all of this, because they're kind of out of the way, not really on that path of the main quest, and because they're so out of the way, by the time I get to them, I've already wasted health kits and ammo, so when I do get to them, I'm out of ammo, I'm out of med kits, I've got to go restock on them, and that is just an endless loop that seems to just forever happen in this game, making it feel like there's no point for the open world, because I don't ever explore it anyway, because whatever ammo and health I lose trying to explore it, I either get an apple and some ammo back, which isn't enough to what I've just lost, or I get a crappy weapon that doesn't do anything because it's worse than the one I got, and if I just did the main campaign, I would have found that weapon anyway. So there's literally no point going off the beaten track. There's 0 point doing it. There's no fucking point. The open world just hinders the game. It doesn't help it. 90% of my time playing this game, I'm just running through empty cities and streets. It's so boring. It is literally the worst part of the game, is running through the open world. They need to start making open world games that have no need to be open. They need to stop. It hinders the game. It's so bad. Now, I know what you're thinking. Ashley, the combat can save this. There's a chance the combat is good. And that's what I was thinking. I was seeing people this is bad, AI's bad. But maybe the shooting is fun. Maybe the combat is nice and enjoyable enough that I could just mindlessly enjoy it. It's not even mindless enough to enjoy, though, sadly. Sadly, the AI ruins most of the situations. Vampire AI and fights generally just suck because all it is, like I said, is backing up and strafing left or right when needed, which is just boring and repetitive. Gunfights themselves would be fun if the AI made me have to think about what I was doing, which they don't. Even on the hardest difficulty, 90% of my fights I do take damage, but all it is me just sprinting and gunning and taking cover to heal every now and again. The AI doesn't know how to combat that 90% of the time, leaving every gunfight, every vampire fight just feeling empty and just depressing and saddening and boring, and to a point where I just eventually started running and only fighting the things I needed to fight because there was no point in fighting anything else. I don't know how you mess up gunplay. Gunplay is one of the easiest things to get right, in my opinion. It just needs to be mindless fun, and in a looter shooter, it definitely needs to be mindless fun. The only time it's fun is when you get a legendary weapon, and that is a stretch because they barely drop. The only way to get a guaranteed legendary is to get Brook to spawn, or I think he's called the Rook. I just call him Brook. Once you get Brook to spawn, he's a guaranteed legendary, but he can spawn in the worst situations possible that it's so pointless having like that as a guaranteed legendary drop. So having a legendary is a fucking like once in a blue moon experience. I don't think I ever had 2 legendaries equipped at once, and that's the only time the weapons and gunplay is cool, when you have the cool effects of the legendaries, and I barely ever got that. So the combat sucks, the guns suck, sadly. I mean, the guns are alright, they just suck because of what I'm doing with them. It is what it is. The combat falls flat, the guns fall flat, everything so far falls flat. So, the spoiler-free edition of this, and there'll be a timestamp to skip the spoilers if you don't want this game spoiling. I don't know who's going to play it to not have it spoiled, but hey-ho. The non-spoiler edition is that the pacing in the beginning is really good. They give this whole first part of the game to one person to flesh out the story and all the mechanics around how this world works. Then they completely drop the pacing in the second act and just go straight balls to the wall. Here's your characters, here's what they do, here's what they did, go get them killed, go get them gone, go get these enemies destroyed. And then that's pretty much the pacing of the second act. It just goes completely fucking bonkers, straight to the wall, throwing everything and anything at the wall to try and get the story finished as fast as possible. The second act just completely fucking ruins the only good thing about this game. But I'll get more into that in the spoilers, which are coming up right now. My biggest peeve before we get into the main campaign is the padding. Some of the quests in the main campaign is just straight up padding. Like, going in the beginning of the game, the doctor's story is just padding. It is literally a side quest hidden in main quest story for some reason. He asks you to go put something on his mother's grave, go get his shotgun, but he gives it to you because he's too scared to use it, and then he goes off and he dies. And that's all he contributes to the main campaign, is his little story. That is a side quest. He has no bearing on the main campaign. Him existing doesn't change the campaign in the slightest. If I didn't do any of that, the main story doesn't change in the slightest. It's side content. I do not care. He has no bearing on the game at all. Dog shit. Then there is straight up just padding side quests into the main campaign without even making it main campaign with the side houses. So how do safe houses get lumbered in? Well, what is a safe house? It's your safe haven that you can find around the world that I originally thought was side content. You can find these safe houses, they're teleportations, you can teleport to them, or you just don't, and you just leave them alone. But you have to. You need at least 9 safe houses, all fully complete, which is 1 side quest and 1 boss fight, which is a underboss, which is just a vampire with a cool name and nothing more. Don't try and act like it isn't. And what you do is you have to do the side quest to unlock the underboss fight, kill the underboss, claim his skull. 3 skulls get you into a main boss fight, so one of the boss fights from the main quest. There's 3 boss fights in the main quest, that means you need 9 fucking skulls, so you gotta wander around looking for 9 safe houses. If you don't find them, tough shit, you gotta keep looking if you want to contribute to completing the main quest line. Just let me play my fucking video game. If I want to do the main quest, let me do the main quest and stop trying to make me do side contents that sucks ass, man. Now, once you look past that and you actually do just play the main campaign, the story is pretty decent. It tells a solid story beginning to end about the Hollow Man and his daughter and how he fucking is a complete and utter twat to his daughter, accidentally kills his daughter, taking too much blood for experiments, and then can't live with the guilt, applying Remnant to the needle, causing you to again be able to go into his pocket world and defeat him, while also looking at the other memories from the Sin Eaters that show you all the sins of their past. It's a really cool concept, and I do like how they display this in the beginning of the game, until you leave RedFall Commons. Pacing takes an hiatus once you hit the second part of the game and just starts letting everything come at you at a breakneck pace. You learn about Mrs. Whispers, Bloody Tom, and Black Sun in the same amount of time it took them to teach you about the Hollow Man. So, you literally learn very little about him. The only reason the Black Sun has any redeeming quality in development is because while you've been going through the game and all these memories, the Bakers, I think they're called, the Bakers' brother and sisters, have been in the game from the beginning always trying to catch up on research and stuff from the other characters. And it turns out the sister kills the brother, and he's been the guy that's been talking to you in all these boss fights and saying they're ready to see you now. We'll talk about the boss fights after the story, because they are a beast of their own quality. But, yeah, the game just paces itself so poorly that I still don't know why the cults of Mrs. Whispers and Bloody Toms are fighting. I don't know what any of them did to turn into the monsters they did. I don't know what tools they had anymore. I don't know what their sins are. I don't know what their dirty deed to do these things were. I have no clue, because they get brushed by so fast. It's so insane to me that the Hollow Man gets all this build-up, and then the next 3 characters get the Spider-Man free treatment and just thrown at you all at once. But it ruins the game's pacing completely, but not as much as the bosses do. These bosses have to be some of the worst boss designs in video game history. The Hollow Man might be the worst boss fight I've ever fought for not telling me how to combat one move. He has 3 stages. All bosses have 3 stages in this game. The Hollow Man, first 2 stages, cakewalk. The 3rd stage, he has the siphon ability, which means he goes up, he siphons blood from you, and you run behind a pillar to stop it from happening. I still, to this day, do not understand how to stop the 3rd stage cipher, because he kept siphoning blood out of me no matter where I went or what I did. At the end, I just had to stand in front of him in hopes he didn't do that move and kept swinging at me so that I could just burst him down and kill him. The Hollow Man fight sucks so much. The next fight, depending which pathway you take, because depending which way you do it, you can fight Mrs. Whispers or Bloody Tom first or second. I went with Bloody Tom, which was probably the best move, because Bloody Tom fight is kind of boring. It's not bad, it's just stand behind pillars and let him fire his balls, and that's all he does. Second phase, he gets a sword, and he can throw that or slam it down, so now you have to keep somewhat of a distance between them, and that sword does hit hard, so you've got to stay behind pillars when he's throwing it. Except from that, the red mist that keeps damaging you is an annoyance in of itself, but you can still kind of see what they were going for, and the boss fight functions. I didn't have a problem with it. It's definitely a fun, doable, enjoyable boss. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. Mrs. Whispers is the only decent boss in the game. It is a fun, mechanically sound boss fight where she takes a lot of damage, so that's what ruins the boss fight for me. But she has moves that are easily dodgeable and easily choreographed. You know when she's doing her moves, you know what she's doing. She has a in-between phase mini games, so that you're not just bored waiting for her to get into the next phase. You got to destroy the effigies while they're spawning in ghost vampires. And then as the phases go on, she gets more challenging, but not to a point where I think it's unfair. Mrs. Whispers is generally one of the best boss fights in this game. I would rank it as the best boss fight for just being functionality-wise. It just works. It's one of the boss fights that just works how it's intended and is a challenging boss fight and is a cool design. Where, on the other hand, the final boss, oh sweet bippy, the final boss. This boss fight stinks. They couldn't have made a worse final boss. If they ended on Mrs. Whispers, I would have been happy. I could have went home and they went out on a somewhat decent high. They actually made a functioning boss. And then Black Sun comes and ruins all of that. She's the leader of the vampire gods, and she's the main antagonist in the game. She's the vampire that shows up at the very beginning of the game to say you will do her bidding, and you technically do, because you take out all the other vampires, bosses, that stand in her way and keep her in place, so then you have to go defeat her. And she just is a boring, generic, delete 3, like, pillars boss fight, but instead of having, like, a challenging section where, like, you have to try and work your way up to getting to these pillars to destroy them, they are all accessible from the get-go. They just have shit ton of special vampires, including fucking Brooke, the goddamn worst fucking vampire to fight in the game, and they just have him in the boss area to the point where it pisses me off. In the end, I stopped fighting completely and just went around and just destroyed all the pillars, because it wasn't worth trying to fight the ads. The ads ruin the fight. They're so fucking bad to fight. They're so depressing that instead I just started training them around and destroying the pillars one by one. On the final pillar, I just used my ultimate, which is a UV ray, to stun them all in place. So I just had a free final pillar to destroy. And once you do that, the game ends. You stake them. She fucking dies. stupid death. You bring the sun back. They sequel bait saying that the person, the gateway, as they call her, was the original person with the blood to make the vampires, is out there somewhere. They still have her captive. She's just the gateway now. So, you know, she might come back and they might do stuff with her. So we gotta be careful in case they do that. So the sequel bait for a Redfall 2 that I hope never comes out unless they actually want to make a video game this time. And the game ends. Instantly New Game Pluses me. So now I still have, it says I have 0% of the story complete. You cannot have an 100% save file, which is stupid. I hate it. Why count the progress of a main story if you're not gonna let them have a 100% complete file? Stupid. Fucking hate it. Dog shit. I hate when games do that. Last but not least, let's just talk about the bugs. I got a lot of bugs during my playthrough. T-poses. I had me T-posing on the menu screen, if I can find that one. The game crashed. I got stuck on the menu a lot. If you go into the settings and back out too quickly, the settings menu just doesn't load anymore. You can get stuck on the map. I got stuck in a tree. I found areas where the walls just didn't load in. Rocks didn't have textures. There was some people I saw with the flaws on the ceilings. Like, the game has a plethora of bugs, and none of them are good. I had my hand held out like a guitar. Like, none of them are good, fun, haha bugs. They're all just, why is this happening? Please stop bugs. So, yeah. Let's just get to the final verdict. So Redfall is in a sad state, and I can't argue against it. Can it be fixed? I don't think so. Unlike Torchlight and Volta, where more content would fix the game, a new developer would fix the game in Torchlight's sense, I don't think Redfall can recover. Even if you fix the performance issues and the bugs and the plethora of fucking gameplay issues, the game still has a pacing issue. The gunplay is still boring. Maybe if they can fix the AI, then you can argue that it wouldn't be in as status of a state. But as it stands, the game's just not fun. So even if you fix the problems, the core gameplay loop and mechanics are so boring that the game is just going to stay in a sad state. They sequel bait for a second, and I'm kind of hoping we do get a second one to a point where they actually develop a game that works properly, to a point where I can actually play Redfall 2. I look forward to Redfall 2 just so that I can see if they fix these problems. Because there's a fun idea here. There's concepts that are really cool just in a bad game. You put it in a good game and like you've got a solid formula to make something fun. Put a dodge button in like Dead Island 2 did. A cooler, more paced story. 4 areas would have fixed the pacing. Maybe made it too long, but 4 areas, an area for each boss would have just immensely fixed the pacing errors in the second half of the game. But I digress on that. As it stands, Redfall is in a sad state. None of it works. None of it functions together. None of it is good, except from the first half of the story. And I don't think they can ever fix that with Redfall 1. I think if they want to fix the sad state that Redfall is in as a franchise, I guess, they would have to Redfall 2. But I digress on that as well. I don't know if I'm ready emotionally for a Redfall 2 yet. Anyway, that is Redfall is in a sad state. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.